Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to another round of our F1 2019 Tier 1 COR Championship, as the calendar takes us today to the Spanish Grand Prix, to Montmeló, to the Circuito Barcelona Catalunya. 16 turns, 4.5 kilometers approximately each lap is going to be repeated 33 laps this afternoon. Look out, of course, for some action into turn 1, as of course the majority of the overtaking attempts will be made there. It's a very long run from lights out until the first corner of the Grand Prix, so especially in the first lap we might see some good action. And of course it's a bit harder, but maybe turn 10 might have some daring drivers charge down the inside of their competitors as well. Moving to the standings, we have Sloppy Mofloppy still leading the championship with only a 1-point lead to Rain, who follows in P2. Then we have a 28-point gap to P3, as Vane is occupying the last of the podium positions, with Juno 2 points behind. Swiffer closes the top 5 with 30 points. Then we have the Purple Sharks in Fungus with only 21 points, one ahead of the best of the Royal Red drivers, Calipos. We have Slouchy Carrot in 8 for the Asphalt Clones, followed by Alex P for the first Sweatfest in 9th, as Colin closes the top 10, with Jamie not too far behind, as we have a duo of Canadians as Marcel Above and Matador occupy 12th and 13th respectively, followed by Koshka, Absinthe, Stingo, Teacher, Waltide with 4 points. Serum, Make and Slendrix haven't scored any points so far this season. Moving to the constructors, we have the Rapid Mommy team leading with 150 points, 51 points ahead of the Kid Good team, followed by the Oval of Indicta, as the Royal Reds following fourth with 29 points scored so far, 4 points ahead of the Purple Sharks, who complete top 5, as they are tied with the Asphalt Clowns. Sweatfest comes in 7th with 16, Blazing Speed in 8th with 14, Akin Racing Team with 6 points follows in 9th, and in last place of our standings, the Box Racing Team unfortunately hasn't scored any points so far this season. So with that, we can get ourselves started with our qualifying session for the Spanish Grand Prix. Hello everyone in chat, how are you guys doing? And hopefully we can have a good race today. A 15 driver field, as you guys can see, and I'm actually not getting sound from the game. Okay, looks like that was sorted out. We have a few drivers already on their out laps, going to try to figure out which of them are closer to completing their out laps and therefore starting their flying laps. Looks like we have Fungus started with his flying lap, so let's go on board with the British driver of the Purple Sharks as he goes beyond the curb on left hand side, hard on the brakes, 100 meters away from turn 1, a bit of touch on the curb into turn 2 for more rotation through the corner, a bit too much rotation there as the British driver spins coming out of turn 3 and unfortunately manages to hit the wall, but there are surely some other drivers coming through. Swiffer is one of them, and he is going to be able to avoid all that mess. We had one of the Royal Red drivers also getting through. That was Calipos. I can't quite find him. Yeah, there you have it. It's getting now to turns number 7 and 8. Easy spot for you to lose the rear as you get now through the uphill challenging corner of turn 9 campsite. It's a blind corner, so you just throw the car in, full commitment, and hope the car sticks to the other side of it. Now hard on the brakes once again, following the second DRS zone into turn number 10, going uphill to turns 11 and 12, also a place where the car can very easily come out of balance before getting downhill into turns number 13 and 14. To the right-hander of 15, goes onto the curb for the acceleration through 16. DRS is going to be wide open at the back of the Royal Red. He's already derating through the last corners. We have someone spinning. That is a box driver. Scalipos gets a 119.1 so far. Rin in the hards, a 119.4. Swiffer crosses the line with a 120.4 on the hards as well. Juno is also about to cross the line to complete his lap, but one of the drivers of the box really had a big mistake. I believe that was Serum, because Mick is not racing here today. Fortunately, the incident has been cleared, but Juno is going to cross over the line on the softs, 120.4, so not even beating some of our hard runners. So unfortunately he has some work to do if he wants to do better than that. Jumping Slouchy Carrot is currently approaching turn number 5. We have Vane through the last sector. We have a Serum also through the second sector just now. Marcel Buff is following closely. So let's see what the Turkish driver does. Is getting himself now through the line. The winner of the last Grand Prix is going to cross over the line, and is it going to be Paul? No, 119.4. Not too far away from Ring considering the tire compound disparity. So it's quite interesting to see if they are going to be pushing harder than this in the laps to come. I suspect, given the amount of energy Vane has on his car, I don't suspect he was using that much amount of ERS. Maybe it's just not trying to qualify on the softs, as we have someone who completed a lap, couldn't quite catch who that was. Slouchy Carrot gets himself P7, Absinthe P8. In the meantime, Absinthe definitely had some mistake, as Masalov jumps to P5. Serum is going to nullify his lap. Colin and Jamie are on laps of their own, just finished with the first sector of these Spanish layout. As Colin, the second speed driver, he has had good qualifying performances this season, hasn't been able to convert them into good performances in the race, unfortunately. He does have a 5th place to speak of at Bahrain. It's his only points scoring finish so far on the season, not showing up at China or Azerbaijan, so hopefully he can come back with a good performance, starting with his qualifying lap. He's on 0 ERS, so pretty sure he's not trying to qualify on those softs. Jamie is pushing a bit more, he's going for it on the softs. Maybe he can actually get a bit of slipstream from Colin as well. Let's see how it goes for the Royal Red driver. He has the best finish result. He has 8th place at China. At least he has been able to score every single time, and he does get provisory pole with a 118.7. So you can tell who was pushing and who was not pushing, as Jamie gets himself a smashing lap time compared to his rivals. Looking further down the order, we have Sloppy Mafloppy on the hards, as the Get Good driver is going to cross the line, and it's going to be P3, best out of the hard runners with a 119.2. So very good lap, I'd say, from the American driver of the Get Good racing team. He who is looking to get himself a race winning performance every single time he's out on a race. He does get a podium, but he hasn't been able to beat both of the Rapid Mummy drivers. He's either beaten by Vane or Rin or even Recycle Finn when the Finn was racing with us. So he hasn't been able to beat both Rapid Mummy drivers in the same race. Finished P2 for the first 3 races of the season, got P3 at Azerbaijan, so he's going to be looking to improve on that one, as Ticho had a bit of a moment as the Blazing Speed driver is getting himself now through the second sector. But yeah, he had a moment through the chicanes of turns 7 and 8, so that's bound to compromise his lap time a little bit. He's currently on the hards. There's also 2 more drivers. Serum and Matador haven't posted any lap times. They're currently in the pits, so let's see how it goes. Serum did have that spin at the last corner, last attempt, so he's going to look out for an improvement. And Ticho gets himself P11, not his best performance, but there you have it. On the hards, he gets P11 with a 120.5. So good performance from him. Hey Daniel, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the live stream. As Jamie has left the session, not sure if he dropped out, his connection dropped out or something, but nonetheless, he is currently out of the session. Hopefully he can rejoin. Vane has launched himself on a flying lap, and looks like he's giving it beans this time around. He is on the hards, and he's going to try to do better than that 119.4 he accomplished on his previous attempt. There's yellow flags through the sector too, as he gets now downhill into turn number 5. Also easy spot to lose the rear if you're not too careful. Now uphill through turn 7 and 8. Up through the gears now. Let's see how committed he is through Kampsa. Even over the curb, that's going to give him a wider exits. Nonetheless, he kept it within the track limits as he now ends the second DRS zone by going hard on the brakes at 100-meter marker sign into the hairpin of turn 10. And yeah, as I was saying there, that is a very tricky spot. Great reflexes from the Turkish driver to be able to get himself under control of the car. As Sloppy Mofloppy improves to a 1:18.7. That might have been a lap invalidation from Vane. Yes, it is, as he's going back into the pits. Daniel, I'm still making career mode vids, don't worry. I'm still working on them. But yeah, Vane aborts his lap. Now going to jump to Serum. As, oh, looks like he's actually aborting his lap. Kalipos gets a new fastest lap to 1:18.2, so 5/10 faster than his teammate. Taking a look, Absinthe is also going for repeated laps on a set of hards, potentially some kind of practice for bolting on a set of mediums or softs and just give it pins, trying to do his best performance so far this session. Serum looks like he's on the flying lap, but he must have, yeah, he completely aborted this lap. He's going to be trying again next time around. Juno, in the meantime, has only 7th place so far and is going to the pits as well, so he's going to have an attempt later on. Green Rain is on an outlap of his own, still through turn 7 and 8. Slouchy Carrot is going to start a flying lap of his own on the medium. So let's follow on board with the Dutch driver. Let's see how it goes for him as he's about to approach turn number 1, 100 meters away from the corner, hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear. Now you have to be smooth on the power on the transition into turn 2. Could have widened the approach to turn number 3. The car is going to try to understeer. There you have it. He actually was forced into the AstroTurf on the exit of turn 3. Now just before the Pirelli sign, you go hard on the brakes once again, down to turn 4, uphill. Smooth on the power once again as you are turning and accelerating at the same time. The tires sometimes don't really enjoy that, as is away now for corner number 5 and 6. As the curb starts on the right hand side, that's where you brake for this chicane of turn 7 and 8. Let's see how hard he commits. A bit of a wider approach than Vane had in his previous attempt, but of course he has softer tires, much grippier, so a higher apex speed was expected in Australia. Also a tighter trajectory overall to turn 9. Nonetheless, he's up now to turn number 12. I've seen some drivers get caught out under traction through there, but he kept the car under control. Now pulling the car to the right hand side into the chicane of turns 14 and 15, and the acceleration to turn number 16. Mode number 3 of DRS, up to 5 DRS, wide open, and it is P5 for Slouchy Carrot. The Dutch driver gets himself a 1:19.3. Moves himself up to the top 5. There's a few rivals already started with their flank laps, including Vane. We have also his teammate Rinrin about to complete a lap. Serum has retired from the session. I imagine that was a crash because he wasn't in the pit, so I imagine Serum has been victim of a crash. So the box driver crashes for the second time in this qualifying session. First try he didn't get any damage. This time around he wasn't that lucky, as Rinrin gets himself P2 with 1:18.4, best of the medium runners so far on this qualifying session. Let's see what he does until the end of it. Vane, in the meantime, is improving his lap time. He's still midway through the second sector. Colin is warming himself up. I don't know why he was zigzagging there. Nonetheless, he is going on mode 5, but he gets right there. Pretty sure that he's lap done for him. Marcel Above just started is a flying lap. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix pole seater is currently on P12. Let's see what he does later on. In the meantime, Vane is getting himself through the last chicane, the number 40. Ooh, yeah, almost troubled there by the blazing speed car of Colin. Nonetheless, Vane crosses over the line, a 1:18.7 for the Turkish driver as he pushes Swiffer down into turn number 6. To position number 6. Looking now at Ticho, who is racing for the Blazing Speed Boys. Let's see how it goes for him. Under acceleration now, mode number 5 of DRS. DRS wide open on the back of his car, gets himself P9 with a lap time of 1:19.4, very close to Matador, as the Akin Racing driver got himself P8 for the time being. Jumping to another Canadian, as Marcel Buff gets himself to the line, P7, with a same exact time as his teammate. Look at that! The Asphalt Clowns are so close between each other that they just did the same exact lap time. Nice stuff there from the Asphalt Clowns. Very tight stuff indeed, as they're battling for well, supremacy within their garage, right? So jumping now to Juno, who is about to start his lap. We're going on board with him and talking about his previous results. Juno hasn't breached the podium. He did get 4th place in both of the first 2 races. Then he dropped down in form, getting a 6th at China and a 7th at Azerbaijan. Hopefully he can get back to the top 5 finishes and bring the fight to the Get Good guys and also the Rapid Miami boys. Let's see how he starts this lap. Hopefully this race weekend could give a bit of a jump back to form. Getting himself now through turn number 2, taking the car to the left hand side as much as he could before checking it into turn number 3. Pedal to the metal, as they say. Now hard on the brakes down into turn 4. Even 3rd gear is the gear of choice of Juno through turn number 4, as now gets downhill into turn number 5, down to 2nd gear. Smooth on the throttle application. A bit of a kick from the rear tires, nonetheless not enough to make him lose control. Tucks his front tires on the inside curb into turn 7 to get more rotation. Through turn 9, a bit of hesitation there on picking up the throttle, nonetheless kept the car within the track limits. At the end of the 2nd sector, is improving by over 0.5 of a second. He would jump to a 1:19.1, which would put him right in P7, at least so far. Let's see what improvements he can get until the end of the lap, as he gets now downhill into turn number 13, and now the chicane of 14 and 15. A bit of a run over the curbs, not exactly ideal. Nonetheless, he gets himself through the last corner. Mode number 4 VRS is already derating, nonetheless doesn't matter, as he gets a 1:18.6, jumps him up to the top 3. So good job there from the Oval of Invicta driver, getting the 2nd best position out of the medium runners. In the meantime, looking at his teammate as Absinthe, the Belgium driver gets himself P7 with a 1:18.792, and we're going to jump at the Purple Sharks driver, who has so far 3rd place at Australia to write home about, then a DNF at Bahrain. Very unfortunate, given that he was leading the race when he DNF'd. Then he had the 7th place at China and the DNF at Azerbaijan. So looks like every other race he finishes in the points. So hopefully he could continue that streak and get a point finish today. Let's see how he gets now through the last corner. He gets himself the RS wide open on the back of his Purple Shark. Gets himself a lap nullification, or maybe it just wasn't that fast, and he's going to retire from the session. Sorry, that was Rinrin retired from the session. Fungus just started his flying lap, so he had a mistake somewhere in the previous lap and is now giving it another go. Swiffer is getting to the end of his lap. I'm going to also take a look at Kalipos, who's further behind. So let's go on board with the German as he's navigating through the last sector of the Spanish layout. The time is up for some of our drivers. Jamie, Vane, Marcel Buff, Slotchy Carrot, Matador, Ticho won't be able to improve, and Swiffer also does not improve his lap. Absinthe moves up to P4. Swiffer gets pushed down to P8 on his set of softs, as that's it for his session. Going to jump to Kalipos. Let's see what he does. The Royal Red driver, can he get on pole on that set of softs? No, he does not. Very, very close between him and the American driver. Nonetheless, just not enough to get him past the American, and he's going to have to settle for the second place of the grid, not the 2nd row, unless Fungus can do something about that. Let's see as he gets now through the last corner, going to cross over the line. P9 for the Purple Shark driver, and is going to get himself 9th place. And well, at least he's going to be starting on the hards, on the mediums, so he's still with the perspective of a one-stop strategy for his race. But look at that, 32 thousandths of a second separating Calipos from Sloppy Mafloppy, as Rain occupies the first place of the second row, as Absinthe follows in P4, Juno in P5, Jamie in P6. Then we have Vane in P7 as the second best Rapid Mummy driver. The Swiffer is the second best of the Get Good guys, followed by Fungus as Marcel LaBeouf beats Slouchy Carrot, as the Canadian, despite having the same exact time, gets himself ahead of his teammate to the start of the Grand Prix. In terms of our strategies, as we wait for the loading screen and for every driver to get themselves sorted out with their strategies, with their race engineers, according to my notes, you can do, for those who start on the mediums, you can pit at lap 14 to go for a hard stint to the end of the Grand Prix. Of course, those who start on the hards, I don't think there's anyone in the top 10 that starts on the hards, but those outside of the top 10 who do can pit at lap 24 a set of mediums. Those who start on the softs can do a soft medium pitting at laps 8 and then at 21, or they can do a soft hard soft strategy by pitting at lap 7 or 8 and then at lap 26 to go on a short stint on the softs, giving their all to claim some positions. Now let's take a look at what the drivers opted into, especially the ones outside of the top 10. Everyone is on either the softs or the mediums, so only 2 drivers starting on the softs, and that is coincidentally both Royal Reds drivers. So it is Jamie and Calipos, the only drivers opting for the soft tires. Well, that might have something to do with the tires matching their car colors. Nonetheless, that is the only team that opted to have a soft tire start to the Grand Prix. Slendrix unfortunately has left the session, as the driver from Argentina wasn't able to join the lobby for some reason. So unfortunately he isn't going to be supporting Matador and giving the Akin Racing team more chances of a good performance. And I'm sorry for the pause, I'm just going to do a thing real quick. Just on my notes, I'm going to be writing this down real quick, and the teacher is also attending today. So yeah, I apologize for that, but I had to do that. So there you have the great Sloppy Mafloppy in P1, Calipos in P2, for you guys as well to get a refresher on the liveries of everyone. So Rin P3, Absinthe P4, Juno P5 right behind his teammate, Jamie in P6, Vane in the Rapid Mummy in P7, Swiffer in P8, Fungus in P9 on the Purple Shark. And then we have the Asphalt Clowns of Marcel LaBeouf and Slouchy Carrot, followed by Matador in the Akin Racing team, Ticho in P13 on the Blazing Speed, as Colin, his teammate, is actually running a different livery. One is racing the dark version, I guess, of the livery. The other one is running the light version, I suppose. And Serum of the Box team is last on the grid. The Box team is the only team who hasn't scored any points this season, so hopefully not the greatest start of the qualifying session for, or the race weekend for Serum. Nonetheless, let's see how it goes, as we have now 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix. We have a good start from Sloppy Mafloppy, a better start from Calipos, it looks like. We have Jamie jumping Juno, taking advantage of the fact that he has softer tires. Let's use now Bravus into turn number 1. There is an Oval of Vindicta, that's Absinthe going up into P3. Jamie is going to try to follow, trying to overtake Green Renewers, get demoted down to P5. Yes, Jamie does follow through the Oval of Vindicta and overtakes the Rapid Mummy driver. Vane already up to P6. Awful start from Rain, as Vane is going to follow through, and now it's Juno who drops a position down to P7. Swiffer in P8 right behind, trying to also get a few positions from the battle between the Rapid Mummy drivers and the Oval of Vindictas, as Juno has to settle for P7. Vane and Rin are still side by side. Looks like there are no team orders between both drivers of the Rapid Mummy team, as Rin settles for P5 and Vane in P6 for the time being. It looks like Fungus has something happening to him. He has damage on the right hand side of his front wing, so not the greatest start for the purple shark driver. In the meantime, we have Ticho coming to blows with Matador as he gets demoted to P12. Rinrin also overtook Absinthe, who after taking P3 has gotten overtaken by Jamie and by Rinrin. So the Belgium driver is going to have to settle with P5 for the time being. And of course now it's the soft runners giving close chase to the leader, as Sloppy Mofloppy does get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He was the first one to cross the line after the start, but now it's when the battle for the lead will be had, because of course Jamie isn't too far behind the duo that is leading, and Calipos is going to try to use the superiority of his soft tires to take the battle to Sloppy Mofloppy, which is not really happening as the gap has already grown to 1 second. Matador and Marcel LeBeuf are battling it out. The Canadians are battling it out for the last of the points paying positions. Matador takes his Akin Racing team into top 10. Ticho launching himself on the inside of the Canadian and gets past the Asphalt Clown. Up into 11 goes the Dutch driver of the Blazing Speed. Now jumping further ahead, we have Vane very close to Absinthe, and is really pressurizing his rival as Colin and Matador come to blows. Matador is trying to gain as much places as he can. A bit of a tank slapper coming out of turn 10 there doesn't allow him to put the traction down cleanly enough to overtake the Blazing Speed's driver, the British driver of the Blazing Speed, who is settling for P9 for the time being. Jumping once again to P6 as Vane is giving close chase to Absinthe. Didn't have the greatest exit out of turn 16, so he's not really going to be able to try anything in terms of overtaking maneuvers. The DRS is not able yet, or enabled yet, for the drivers. It's only going online at the end of this lap, so only then we might have some swaps of positions. Calipos is already losing 1.6 seconds to the lead, so Sloppy Mofloppy after the break, because of course we have alternating weekends between these F1 races and the F2 championship races. Sloppy Mofloppy coming back strong, decided to take or to maintain the lead of the championships. We have Colin and Matador coming to blows once again as the Canadian moves up to P9, so good recovery from the Akin Racing driver. As we have a moment there, that's Colin as he gets himself wide out of turn 9. He's going to drop a few positions, and at least his teammate is going to be able to capitalize on that and get P10. So at least in terms of the Blazing Speed's team, not much harm was done. There were one driver in P10, now it's the other driver occupying the same position. Jamie is finally on the DRS range of his teammate. Looks like he's slightly faster. He wasn't in qualifying, but looks like at this point he is indeed slightly faster. As we have a bunch of drivers getting DRS off of each other. No really major opportunities to overtake from any of our drivers. Give me a moment. We don't have really much or very obvious overtaking attempts, as everyone is at least 5 tenths away from their rivals. Ticho is the closest driver on the track as Calipos makes a mistake for sure, or maybe there were a bit of team orders. Nonetheless, there was a swap of positions within the Royal Red drivers, and it's now Jamie jumping up to P2. Calipos gets P3 for the time being. They know they can't delay each other too much because they are going for the 2-stop, so they need to take advantage of the fact they have the soft tires right now and just try to get the cleanest laps they can find, so to deny the disadvantage they have by pitting one extra time to the extent of these Grand Prix. So taking a look as well at our battle for P6s, we have yellow flags in Sector 1. Was that something with Sloppy Mofloppy? No, it wasn't. It's Serum who is out of the race. Rinrin also caught up to the Royal Reds drivers, and the biggest contender for the lead of the championship at the end of this Grand Prix is following in P4. Jamie has disconnected from the session And we might have, yeah, Kalipos was surely not expecting that one, had to lift off to avoid the back of his teammates, and he has reconnected now. No, sorry, he hasn't, there was just a lag moment. Jamie has dropped out of the session, so connection issues really damaging Jamie's race, as he had pretensions to go for the two-stop, and this is exactly what he didn't need. There was also Absinthe almost colliding with the back of the British driver's car, as of course the AI is set to be considerably slow. Now Vane, that was really close between them, but you can see as soon as they get a bit of daylight, they just blitz past the Royal Red car, as the AI is set to be rather slow. Absinthe lost already a second to Rain, just trying to overtake Jamie's car, and then Vane lost even more time, as turn 9 yet to do it at a considerably slower pace. In the meantime, we have Swiffer 1/10 away from Jamie, as he's going to dive himself down the inside. There's a bit of argy-bargy there with the AI, nonetheless is going to get through. Kalipos is already into the pits. Kalipos is already going to get rid of his set of softs, so not sure what he's going to do until the end of the race. So he's opting for the mediums, he's not going for the hard, so he's going for the mediums, and then pit for another set of mediums later on, I guess. Slouchy Carrot overtakes Ticho, but there's a bit of a cluster, as the Dutch driver once again collides with Jamie. Even when Jamie is disconnected, the Dutch driver manages to hit the Royal Red car, and once again there was a collision, just like at Bahrain, just like at China if I'm not mistaken. There was also a collision between the two, and Slouchy Carrot this time around can't really get past cleanly and is settling for P10 for the time being, as his teammate jumps up to a P9. The biggest benefactor from that would be Ticho and Matador, as they were occupying P9 and P10, and now they are up to P7 and P8 respectively. Serum, unfortunately, with that DNF, is going to extend the amount of races that the Box team hasn't scored any points for, so the pointless streak continues. As, yes, well pointed out by Daniel in chat, Fungus has come out to the pits for a set of R's, as Rinrin gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and as you can see, there is already a 5.5 second gap, over a 5.5 second gap between Rinrin and Sloppy Mafloppy, so the American is really pushing, really trying to keep himself away, as now it is Jamie coming to the pits. Not sure if he's already connected back, as Swiffer is going rather slowly. Not sure what happens to the German driver, as it drops down to P7. Going to try to take a look. He doesn't have wing damage, so maybe just lost traction coming out of turn 3. Ooh, Ticho gets a bit wide there, and he loses the rear. He's in the wall. Ticho is in the wall, going to drop down to P10. There's damage on the right side of his wing, and yes, he got himself a bit too deep, trying to hang himself around the outside of Swiffer. Got a bit too deep into the corner, touched the green, and of course that already reduced the amount of grip on his tire, and then he went full throttle on it, I guess, and it was just too much for the Pirelli to handle. Nonetheless, he's still occupying P10, but very unfortunate stuff for the Dutch driver of the Blazing Speed team. His teammate Colin is currently in P11, so not the greatest start of the race for the Blazing Speeds team. Both drivers having big mistakes so far this Grand Prix. Juno now is coming to pressurize Vane, as both of them have gotten promoted to the top 5. Juno is not able at this point to close in too much on Vane, but of course he's going to keep piling the pressure in the laps to come, as Ticho goes into the pits for a replacement of his tires. I would guess he would go for a set of hards, or I would expect him, as Kalipos jumps to P10, as Colin gets in a battle with the Royal Red driver who has fresh tires. Colin does not, and as you can see, Kalipos just gave no chance of Colin for retaliation. The Blazing Speed driver maintains P11 as he overtakes his teammate, but then gets overtaken by Kalipos. Jumping back to the top 5 positions, Juno is maintaining, or Vane is maintaining, at about half a second, 6/10, 7/10 gap to Juno. So the Turkish driver is fighting his best, or giving his best shot to keep himself away. There's not too big of a difference between the amount of energy on the batteries of both drivers. Juno is being a bit more aggressive with usage through this last sector, as Vane was on zero mode, or mode 0. Juno was on mode number 2. Looks like he's not actually getting the best exit out of the last corner though, so that's going to not increase his chances of overtaking. Nonetheless, he's going to be continuing to pile on the pressure, going to keep himself pressurizing with the DRS lap after lap, and of course the pressure might eventually lead into a mistake from the Rapid Mummy driver. Swiffer gets past Matador as the Get Good driver gets past the Canadian, and the Ekin Racing driver gets back down to P7. Matador, who is, allow me to just, I had to click away on my second monitor, but because I had chat covering part of the results, but Matador did get 11th place at Australia, get his best points finishing position with a 7th place at Bahrain, and unfortunately it's his only points scoring performance so far this season. Matador is 3 tenths away from the car ahead, but is not close enough to try and overtake. So jumping back to Juno, who this time is a bit closer to the Turkish driver's car than he was on the previous lap. So once again, it's going to be a matter of who gets the best exit into turn 16, and once again I would give the advantage to Vane. Let's also take a look at Matador's exit compared to Swiffer's, and I would say Swiffer does get a better exit. Juno nonetheless is going to try, he's going to force, ooh, he got himself his nose on the rear tire. Ooh, there's contact between the front wing and the rear diffuser of both cars, and Juno is very fortunate to not have a bit of carbon fiber flying off the front of the number 25. Matador is going to also have to maintain himself in P7 for the time being. Colin very close to Kalipos, but of course the fresher tires on the Royal Red car not enabling him, not allowing him to challenge too much the Dutch driver for the last of the points paying positions. Jumping back to the front, as we have Sloppy Mafloppy now leading. Oh, I apologize for that one, I picked the wrong driver. Sloppy Mafloppy is now leading by 7.6 seconds, so Rin, who under normal circumstances would be ahead of the American, looks like the American took the break to really improve his pace and is leading by almost 8 seconds, and the gap keeps on widening. The gap that is not widening for sure is the current one between Juno and Vane. Vane goes defensive, the Turkish driver takes the inside line. Let's see who is the bravest under the brakes. Ooh, a bit steep goes Vane, forces Juno to go wide. Juno does overtake, not sure if he's going to get prompted by the game to give the place back. He did give the place back, but is going to continue a very close chase on the Turkish driver's car. Matador is also keeping himself very close to Swiffer, keeping him honest, nonetheless not yet able to pull the trigger on the German to try to challenge him for that P6. Marcel Leboeuf not yet within the RS range of the duo ahead, nonetheless he's lurking not too far behind, trying to capitalize on any mistakes. I do believe Matador got a bit of a tank slapper coming out of turn number 5. Nonetheless, not enough to get the Canadian into DRS range. Once again, going for another round of the Juno-Vane battle. Yes, Daniel, you pointed out correctly that Fungus is gaining time, but Jamie hasn't rejoined the race yet. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he has rejoined the race just yet, as Vane loses the rear. He smacks into the DRS sign and he's out of the session. Vane is out of the Grand Prix. This is disastrous for the Rapid Mummy drivers. They get one of their drivers out of the session, and this could be a safety car. Looks like there's not going to be a safety car, but Colin, fortunately for him, is going to get himself back into the top 10 as he's going to take his car to the pits. Ooh, was that a knock on? I'm not sure if that was a knock with his front wing on the wall or not. He might get damage from that one. to his mechanics. No, he didn't get damage on his front wing. His mechanics aren't going to replace the front wing. So he's going to get out jumped by his own teammate. So just a swap of the Blazing Speed drivers for the last of the top 10 positions. Ooh, Matador getting a bit wide through there. He's not having the best of lines through that sequence of corners just in the previous lap. By the way, that sound was my PC, not yours, don't worry. But Matador, also in the previous lap. Oh, Mr. Ticho having a mistake there. Someone also going very wrong. Was that Fungus? Yes! Fungus lost the rear on the transition between turns number... Ooh, yes, huge amount of gravel on his tires, and is not... The camera is not really helping me, but yeah, you can see how much trouble he is having to put the traction down, and unfortunately disastrous race from Cheesy Fungus, who is better off just going to the pits and retiring there instead of retiring on the track. But yeah, looks like it is going to be a race over for the Purple Sharks driver, who unfortunately continues his streak of not good results. Another DNF, the second DNF in a row for the Purple Sharks driver, as yeah, Fungus just lost the control of his car on that very tricky transition between turns 11 and 12. I did say during the qualifying lap that it is an easy spot for a driver to get caught out, and looks like that's exactly what happens. Matador is still giving close chase at this point to his rival. The German driver of the Git Good is currently occupying... Looks like Swiffer this season hasn't finished below or above P5. Every single race Swiffer attends, he finishes in P5, finished in P5 at Australia, did not show up for Bahrain, finished P5 at China, P5 at Azerbaijan, and looks like he's going to finish P5, or at least he's on his way to finish P5 in this race as well. Sloppy Mofloppy goes for the undercut on some of his rivals. Rin follows him into the pits. All of them are going to get hard tires fitted on their cars. Absinthe also on hards, and ooh, Absinthe actually jumps Rin. I don't know what happened to Rin there, but Rin got jumped by Absinthe, so now Absinthe is the holder of net P2, I would say. Matador also goes into the pits. Logic Carrot also takes his Asphalt Clown car to the pits, comes out in P9. Colin takes the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as he has the freshest tires at this point, but is way too far behind Logic Carrot to even bring the fight to him. Ticho also has a moment as Ticho loses, yeah, he lost the car on the chicane of turn 7 and 8, and there's considerable amounts of damage for him, and I'm pretty sure he's going to bring it to the pits and potentially also retire the car. Marcel Abuff and Swiffer come to blows as Swiffer maybe spun, and something happened to him. It's not the first time he has those things happen to him, and now it is Calipos who's going to pressurize him very closely indeed. Juno goes into the pits. Sloppy Mofloppy is going to inherit P1. And yes, Juno goes into the pits. Marcel Buff goes into the pits. Swiffer goes into the pits. Calipos does not go into the pits yet. And let's take a look at this. Absinthe is going to inherit P3, I would say, as Rin has also lost time to the Belgian driver. Of the Oval of Vindicta team. And yes, Rin also got jumped by Juno, so something pretty bad happened to the British driver as he got jumped by both Oval of Vindicta drivers. So Rin, he needed this race, he needed a win to jump to the lead of the championship, and is going to screw his opportunity. Matador even jumps past the British driver. Something is really going on with him. He's not going quickly at all. Did he disconnect? I'm not sure if he... Yeah, he's going even down to first gear. Something is on with him. I believe it is AI controlling Rin's car. Yes, Rin has disconnected, so that's what happened. So awful turn of events for the Rapid Mummy drivers. They had both cars in the top 5. Vane crashes out of the race and Rinrin suffers a disconnection and is plummeting down the order. Marcel above is going to take his Asphalt Clown's car up to P6, matching his best finishing position of the season so far. It was accomplished at the season opener at Australia. His teammate also has a highest finishing position of P6 at Azerbaijan. So as you can see, that's how close the lineup of the Asphalt Clowns is at this point. And yes, Ticho is pitting a lot of times because he's doing a lot of mistakes. There's a battle there between Rin and Swiffer, or of course the AI that's controlling the Rapid Mummy car. Swiffer uses the RS to sail past the Rapid Mummy and moves up to P7. Back to the front, Calipos has a 10-second gap to Sloppy Mofloppy, and he has to pit soon. Absinthe is 4 seconds behind the Royal Red car, so it is, or it looks like it's going to be a 15-second gap between P1 and what is net P2. Once the dust of the pit stops settles down, Juno is 3 seconds away from his teammate, almost 4 seconds away from his teammate, and I do believe, yes, it would be the first time Absinthe, it would be the first time Absinthe finishes a race in the top 5. It would be his second points finish after the 8th place the Belgian driver got at Bahrain, and Juno would be once again matching his best finishing result of 4th place for a 3rd time if he finishes 4th this time around. So it's also the first time Absinthe finishes ahead of his teammate. Oh, very good race from the Belgian driver this time around. Rin continues to drop down. It's now Colin moving up to a P9 and brings the Blazing Speed to double of the points he had reserved for him, I would say, a couple moments ago, before Rin adds disconnected. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but he was on his pace for a 10th place finish without many problems, unless he had some mistakes of his own. He now doubles his respected amount of points gained by moving up to 9. Calipos, Ticho is pitting again. Ticho has broke his front wing again. Ticho, I'm not sure if he didn't have practice or what happens. But yeah, he's already a lap down as Sloppy Mofloppy just sails past him. And unfortunately, Ticho is having a disastrous race today. Sloppy Mofloppy continues to extend the lead even to Calipos, who's on softer tires despite them being older. So it's 11 seconds now the gap. Absinthe also is gaining on Calipos, so I believe the gap will maintain at 15 seconds once Calipos pits. And by 15 seconds I mean the gap between Absinthe and Sloppy McFloppy. Juno is continuing to lose time to his teammate. Matador is bringing himself to the best finish of the season so far. If he finishes in that P5, the Canadian would be besting his 7th place finish at Bahrain. So very nice job from the Akin race team today. Number 47 definitely doing a good job. So in terms of the improvements of positions, as you guys can see, I'd say driver of the day would be Matador. Yeah, he's gaining 7 places from the start. Of course, he has benefited from the misfortunes of his rivals, but that's also part of racing, right? You don't a bit of luck also contributes to a good performance in a season sometimes. And Matador, with that potential 5th place finish, will bring a nice boost to not only his championship in terms of the drivers battle, but also to his team in terms of the constructor. 7 places gained since the start, taking advantage of the DNF of Vane, the disconnections of Jamie and Rin, and also the botched strategy of Calipos. Matador might actually jump to P4 at the end of the race. So of course, there's a big gap between Matador and Calipos. Calipos might actually jump or come out of the pits after his second stop, still ahead of the Canadian, but that's something we are going to figure out later on. And as you can see, yeah, Ticho, 4 pit stops, disastrous performance from the Dutch driver of the Blazing Speed car team today. Now, going to look further up, or actually further down. It looks like Colin is starting to close in on Slouchy Carrot. We're going to take a look at the Asphalt Clown driver, and he is not sustaining front wing damage. I was suspecting so, seeing that Colin was catching up, so maybe just a driving mistake from the Dutch driver, allowing the British to close in, and maybe, just maybe, he could jump up to P8. Kalipos finally goes into the pits, going to switch for a brand new set of the mediums. Will Matador get him? I do believe so. I would say so. Yes, I do believe Matador is going to come out ahead of Kalipos. Yes, Kalipos has to settle for P5, and Marcel Leboeuf might also overtake him. It's going to be close between the two of them. Let's see who the bravest is. Into the brakes, Marcel Leboeuf very close to the rear diffuser of Kalipos. Nonetheless, Kalipos maintains P5, and of course is going to take advantage of the fact that he has fresher and softer tires to try and pull away from the Canadian. So let's see how that one develops in the laps to come. Colin also with the DRS was able to get past Slouchy Carrot, and is already not too far away from Swiffer. Yes, older tires on his car, but Swiffer looks like he's not having the most consistent of races. We've seen already some mistakes from the German, so Colin could potentially claim another position. This would be a great performance from Colin as well. Taking a look at the position changes, he's gained 6 places. Matador has gained 8, but Colin also doing an extremely good job so far in this race. As we are taking a look at the battery charge between him and Swiffer, Colin has a big advantage in terms of the battery charge. Colin is quicker even than Slouchy Carrot at this point. He's really on the gearbox of Swiffer, and let's see who gets a better exit. Swiffer does get better acceleration, but Colin gets the best exit overall. The DRS is already wide open. Mode number 4 DRS as he sails past the German, and there's not much that the Get Good driver is able to do to respond. Going to settle for P8, and Colin jumps another place, and that is 7 places gained now compared to his starting position. Now Kalipos has already pulled away from Marcel Leboeuf. The gap is now 2 seconds, and is certainly going to start closing in on Matador at a quick pace as well. So as you can see, we might have a fun battle between Kalipos and Matador. Matador and Colin might reach the end of the Grand Prix tied for the most amount of places gained. Matador is going to be soon under pressure from Kalipos, but that I suppose that's going to be in 1 or 2 laps time, as the gap currently is over 1 second. Looking at Slouchy Carrot, who in the meantime has also caught up to Swiffer. Swiffer is not having a very good time with the hard tires, that's for sure. And Kalipos just got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, as he has brand new mediums, so at least that extra point of the fastest lap might help him a slight bit in terms of his championship. Let's see how it goes. Slouchy Carrot is closing in, and will the German be able to respond at the braking? No, Slouchy Carrot gets past even before the braking zone. The German can't quite respond at this point. Now, jumping further up on the grid, we have Kalipos gaining time and a hover fist to a Matador, and I think it's very possible for Kalipos to conquer that 4th place, but then would he be able to get the podium paying positions? I'm not sure, especially as after Matador there is an 8-second gap to Juno, and Juno is no slouch, and Kalipos tires will start to lose effectiveness after 10 laps or something like that. So at lap 32, 33 is going to not have the same pace, so it really needs to make quick work of Matador. He's already under 7/10 of the Canadian. Is going to have to get DRS at this point. Only mode number 2 of ERS, actually mode number 3 now. Matador on mode number 2 only, so he's not really pushing himself too hard to pull away. He probably knows that Calipos is on a completely different strategy, and as much as he would hope to be able to keep himself in front of the Dutch driver, I don't think that is a possibility for him, as Colin gets a 3-second time penalty. That might compromise his chances. He is indeed 3 seconds away from Slouchy Carrot, but if he has any mistakes, he could be throwing that away. He does have the oldest hard tires out of every one of his competitors, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that one develops. Calipos is still chasing the Canadian very closely indeed, and let's see, he's going to have what it takes to overtake into turn 10. No, it does not. Not an opportunity presenting to the Royal Red driver at this point of the Grand Prix. So it's going to be P5 for the time being for Calipos. He is much closer than in the previous lap, so I would assume this would be the lap where Calipos has the opportunity to overtake. Let's see, DRS is going to be opened on the back of the Royal Red car. DRS wide open. Mode number 2 of DRS doesn't even need to push that hard, and is he going for it? He pulls to the right hand side rather, and goes on the brakes later than his rival, moves up to P4, and now is up to Matador to try to carry on the slipstream and potentially get DRS sometimes from Calipos. The gap has already extended to 6/10, so I'm not sure as to what extent that would be possible for the Canadian driver. If he can keep up with Calipos, that would be a commendable effort. Maybe he can capitalize on the fact that the soft tires will degrade a bit quicker to bounce on Calipos late in the race, but let's figure out how that is going to develop first. Going to jump to the Canadian's car, and yes, he's still maintaining within a second, but especially now on this twisty last sector, the advantage of the softer, fresher tires is going to be perhaps too much. Yeah, Calipos is getting much better exits out of the corners. Also a bit of a mistake there, missing the apex of turn 13, the Canadian. So yeah, Matador is going to get DRS this time, but I don't think he's going to get DRS for the remaining laps. Calipos is closing in on someone. Not sure that that's his teammate. Calipos is closing in on Jamie, so he's going to lap his own teammate who hasn't been able to get back to the lobby after disconnecting. So rather unfortunate stuff from both him and Rin, but it is what it is. So I'm going to see if Matador is brought it down to 7/10. So Matador is trying his hardest to keep himself up with Calipos. That would be very nice to see if Matador is actually able to keep up with the Royal Red driver, but that's what we're going to find out next time. I'm also guessing that Calipos got held up a little bit by the AI of his teammates. That allowed Matador to get DRS one more time, but he's already over a second away, so that's not likely. He has another car ahead of him. That's Rin, and this is not the point of the track. He would like to catch up to him. You can see, woo, that's really close stuff, and Rin is going definitely very slowly. At least he's going to give DRS to, oh god, that was a major block at Matador. And yeah, he did get DRS, but he did lose out a lot of time, a lot of momentum, and that's actually, fortunately for him, no wing damage, but that could have been a nasty impact between the AI and the Canadian driver. Jumping back to the front, an almost 20-second gap from Sloppy Floppy to Absinthe, so Sloppy Floppy is very quick today, very fast, very competent for sure. and especially considering the retirements of Rinrin and Vayne, his closest competitors in the championship, is going to get 25 points, his closest rival is going to get 0. So that's going to be very important to help him survive in the lead of the championship. Of course, he's having a great performance today. Not sure if he's going to maintain this level of performance in the races to come. Nonetheless, Floppy Mafloppy is going on his merry way to a potential very easy win here at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. Absinthe is also been gaining on Juno in the past few laps. The gap has grown considerably. It was about 4 seconds the first time I looked at the gap. It's now 8.5 seconds between Absinthe and Juno. So the Belgian driver more prepared for this race today than the British driver of the Oval of Invicta. Then you have Calipos in P4, 6 seconds still away from Juno, not sure it's going to be enough to overtake into a podium paying position. Matador is only 1.5 seconds behind, so Calipos needs to be careful, needs to pay attention as well, because he can't be pushing too hard, otherwise he might demolish his tires, and then Matador will be right there to pounce on it and to take the position. Colin, in the meantime, Colin is making an amazing stint on the hards, already overtook Swiffer and Sloshy Carrot, and now is coming up to the other Asphalt Clown. Is right on the gearbox of Marcel Leboeuf. He does have a 3-second time penalty, but he is potentially going to be able to pull away from the Canadian. A bit of a tank slapper there as he comes out of turn 10. I would suppose Marcel Leboeuf is going to be able to get back on him with the DRS coming out of the last corner. He does have quite a bit of VRS piled up on his battery, but so does Colin. So let's see how it goes. 410 separating both of them, and Colin did get a very good exit, very good exit from Colin compared to the Canadian's exit. And despite the ERS on mode 4 and the DRS is closing in quite rapidly, Colin is going to pull off to the inside. No, he's actually not. There's not enough space for Marcel Leboeuf to retaliate, and Colin, I would say, is going to pull away with it. And as you can see, Colin is now the driver with the most positions gained. Is now 6 seconds behind Matador, so it would be nice to have a battle between the two of them, but I do find it unlikely at this point of the Grand Prix. But Colin definitely having a very good stint on those hards, and he's going on his way for not his best finishing position, because that's 5th place at Bahrain, but going to claim a very good, very healthy 6th place finish for him. Now, going to jump once again further up, and you guys might have noticed that the gap has increased, has doubled since the last time I looked at Matador and Calipos. The gap is now 3 seconds. Calipos isn't gaining that much to Juno though, so I would say Calipos is going to be set in stone for P4 as we approach the last 5 laps of this Grand Prix, unless of course someone does a mistake. It's going to be quite set in stone, the positions for some of these drivers. Marcel Leboeuf is going to try to keep himself in contention, as he's still within a second away from Colin, and as soon as I say that 8th gap develops into a 1.1 second gap. Marcel Leboeuf needs to push, because he is currently benefiting from the 3-second penalty from Colin, so if the race finished right now, he would still claim P6. Swiffer has a severe collision with Jamie's AI. And where is Swiffer? Yeah, Swiffer is further behind with wing damage, so a severe collision between him and Jamie gets him a 5-second penalty as his race goes from bad to worse. But yeah, as I was saying, Marcel Leboeuf can still benefit from the 3-second penalty to Colin. Marcel Leboeuf has pushed a bit more than Colin in the previous lap, so he doesn't have the ERS advantage anymore. Colin actually moving up to mode number 3. That would probably give him bigger chances of losing the rear coming out of the last corner, especially as you accelerate on the curb. Not much grip there. Nonetheless, Colin making it work, and the gap is over 1 second at this point. So at least he has denied DRS to Marcel Buffy. Now just needs to get the job done. That's not going to help him though. A bit of a tank slapper as he gets through turn 3, and I'm pretty sure Marcel Buff got a good view of all that. And that probably gave him a bit of motivation to hunt down the British driver and try to overtake him on the track. Sloppy Floppy is going to the pits. A 21-second gap is going to the pits. Swiffer is also going to the pits. So both get good drivers. They can pull off that pit stop because in the multiplayer cars you don't have assigned pit garages, right? So Sloppy Floppy and Swiffer going both of them for the softs, and now it's going to be a battle for the fastest lap of the race point. Of course, Absinthe isn't close enough to contest, so Absinthe is going to settle in for P2. Sloppy Floppy wants the full 26 points. He wants to capitalize on the fact that his most direct rivals are not scoring points today, and he is going to try and claim those 26 points. Once again, jumping to Marcel above, is maintaining the gap between 1.1 and 1.3 seconds. So Colin might be straining himself too much. He did have a great job to pull away from his rivals, but now it might have caught up with him. Because of course he has older tires by 3 laps compared to the Canadian as you have on your monitors, and at this point he also has that 3-second time penalty, so it's rather unfortunate, but Colin might not be able to claim P6 today at the end of the Grand Prix. He has pulled off a 1.5 second gap, so let's see how that one develops. In the meantime, we're going to jump to Sloppy Floppy, and we're going to go on board with him as we're going to see what he can accomplish from his from this lap. I would say potentially flying lap, as Absinthe gets a 3-second penalty. Not that is going to matter too much, as he's 10 seconds away from Juno. But Sloppy Floppy is getting now to turn number 5. Nice and smooth exit through the left-hand kink of turn number 6. Now hard on the brakes into turn 7 and 8. There's them on turn 4 on 4th gear. He can abuse a bit more of the curbs because those tires are brand new. The car is also light on fuel, so he can push to his heart's content. As he gets now through the second DRS zone, of course not available to him, but he is improving his lap to by 1.2 seconds compared to his previous best lap. A bit of a tank slapper there coming out of turn number 12. Now downhill through 13, opening the angle for turns 13 and 14. Smooth on the power as well, as he gets the power application very nicely indeed through the last corner, and is going to get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:19.0. So brilliant lap from him. Colin has made a mistake. Colin has made a mistake somewhere. His tires have given up on him. And Marcel above is getting back P6 from the British driver. Slouchy Carrot is also 2 seconds behind him, so Colin might lose another position. Will Colin be able to hold on to P7 in the last lap? He needs to gain 8 tenths on Slouchy Carrot, and I'm pretty sure Slouchy Carrot got quite motivated by knowing of the mistake of Colin. The gap is already less than 2 seconds. He needs to gain 1 second on his rival in this last lap. He's going to have to push, but that's going to risk another mistake because the tires are pretty much giving up on him. Is he going to be able to pull that one off? Not sure, but we're surely going to find out soon. Sloppy Floppy has already started the last lap, as you guys can see. Matador gets a 3-second time penalty, not enough to change anything. And Calipos looks like he's not going to catch Junos. There you have it. Demolishingly quick performance from Sloppy Floppy from start to finish. And there you have it. Sloppy Mafloppy crosses over the line to take home the win of the Spanish Grand Prix. Rins AI, of course, a lap down. Also, Jamie crossed the line a lap down. Swiffer also a lap down, already crossed the line. Juno is going to claim a P3. Calipos was close, but not close enough. Has to settle for P4. Matador with his best finishing position, P5. Pretty sure he's happy with that one. Marcel above is going to claim P6. Colin, P7. Sludge Carrot is going to be right on the limit. Is he going to hold P7 or not, the British driver? Let's see, it's going to cross over the line, and yes, he does manage to hold on to P7. So, nonetheless, great performance from Colin. Apart from that second to last lap, where the tires were understandably just giving up on him. And that was it for his chances to claim P6. Nonetheless, there you have it, Sloppy Mafloppy showing why he is the championship lead, just the most consistent driver. Hasn't had any win until today, and finally, this one had not escaped from his grasp. P2 from Australia to China, P3 in Azerbaijan, and today you can taste the victory champagne. P1 for Sloppy Mafloppy, extending to the max his lead over his direct rivals, as the Rapid Mummy drivers scored 0 points this afternoon, unfortunately for them. At least in terms of the constructors, they are still going to nurture a big lead. The game decided to troll me and not get me onto the results screen. So there you have it. This is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like button. If you did not, the dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever we are about to start a live stream or to post a video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.